Whenever you're ready, Bianca, I'll call the meeting.
You can go ahead, Mayor Martin.
All right then. 9:31, so I'll call this meeting to order. I'll ask everyone to please turn your cell phones off or place them on vibrate as we go into this meeting, just so we don't get disturbed. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if it arises. I think, Larry, do you want to declare?
Yes, there's an item on the agenda I would like to declare.
Okay, when we get there, you can declare then, and Bianca will take care of that.
Thank you.
We have minutes from the council meeting on September 8th. If they're in order, I'll look for a motion to receive them. Deputy Mayor Giroux and Councillor Webb. And I'll ask you to hold your hand up when you are making a motion, or if you'd like to signal, because with all these visitors into the screen, it makes it really small square, so it's hard to catch you. So thank you for that ahead of time. And I'll ask the guests to please make sure you're on mute during the meeting, so it doesn't disturb the rest of the people talking. So we have two zoning bylaw amendments here. I'll look for a motion to go into the public meeting to discuss them.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we have the first zoning bylaw amendment here is Daniel Graham. This is a statutory public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The owners applicants are Daniel Graham. The property is described as part of Lot 11, Concession 4, having the municipal address of 1288 County Road 48, Belmont Ward, having the roll number of 1531 010 003 19800. Any person may attend the public meeting and/or make verbal or written representation either in support or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please keep your video off and your microphone muted during the meeting until the chair invites you to comment regarding the matter. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the local planning appeal tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. With that, I'll turn it over to Laura.
Thank you. So it's my recommendation that, subject to any new information or public comments received at this meeting, that the draft bylaw be passed as presented. As Mayor Martin said, this property is at 1288 County Road 48. This application is specifically for the area of the property that was previously or is currently zoned SD 89, which houses a former church turned woodworking shop. The proposal is to convert the use of the original building to a dwelling. As part of this application process, the property owner has completed ground penetrating radar and has provided the municipality with a survey. Crow Valley Conservation Authority has indicated that there are no concerns with this application. Township staff have met with the cemetery board in regards to this property. The property owner is willing to enter into an agreement with the municipality for perpetual care of the cemetery and is willing to look at the process of severing off the portion of the property that is an open cemetery today. As this proposed residential use conforms with the provincial and county policies, it is my recommendation that this application be approved.
Okay, thank you. And this is the part where if anybody wishes to speak, I first will ask if anybody wishes to speak in opposition of this application. You could state your name and we'll try and do this as orderly as possible. and then if anybody wishes to speak in favor. So I'll start off with anybody wishing to speak against this application. I know. I'll ask again just to give you time. Anybody wishing to speak against? Third time, anybody wishing to speak against? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? I do see Mr. Graham on the screen here. If he has anything to add, that.
Yes, thank you. Oh, here, sorry, thank you very much. Yeah, no, I appreciate the lack of opposition, and I'm just happy to preserve the property and build something that can add value to the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the application? And third time, anybody in favor? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next application. The next application is zoning bylaw amendment for Lynn Han and Jason Ho. This is a statutory public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The owners and applicants are Lynn Han and Jason Ho. The property is described as part of Lot 21 and 22, Concession 3, having a municipal address 0, Fire Road 18A, Belmont Ward, having a roll number of 153101006433701. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support of or in opposition of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the local planning appeal tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Laura, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. So my recommendation for this application is that subject to any new information or public comments received at this meeting, the draft bylaw be passed as presented. This property has a zoning of rural and EP and an official plan designation of rural. This application is to permit a cottage use on a rural property. So with a rural zoning, a cottage use is not permitted or a recreational dwelling is not permitted on anything less than 100 acres. And a permanent year-round home is not permitted on a rural property that does not have frontage onto a municipally maintained road. We're kind of stuck. The property owner has worked very closely and diligently with Crow Valley Conservation Authority to determine an appropriate building envelope that mitigates environmental concerns. Crow Valley Conservation Authority staff attended the site and determined the setbacks from the high water mark as well as the wetlands. While the site plan shows access from Fire Route 18A, the property owner determined that access will be from Fire Route 18 as it's not deeded onto his land registration that he has access over 18A. Fire Route 18 is property owned by the Ministry of Natural Resources and is considered to be an appropriate location. The proposed new entrance is outside of the areas regulated by the Crow Valley Conservation Authority, meaning there are no wetlands or sensitive areas in the area of where the entrance will be. Crow Valley Conservation Authority has since provided written confirmation that there are no concerns with this application. Since a cottage use on a body of water with access from a road not maintained by the municipality is the most appropriate use for this property, it is my recommendation that this application be approved.
All right, thank you. Okay, once again, I'll ask 3 times, anybody in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody in opposition of this application? And third time, anybody in opposition?
Hello, I'd like to oppose, please. Hello? Hello, is my microphone working here?
Yeah, you're working. If you could
It's
state your
Mark.
name.
It's Mark chiming in here.
Okay,
Mark Newell.
Mark Newell, okay.
Yeah. So just having a look at this plan, and with the documentation provided, it's difficult to see like precisely what the plan is here. But I would just like to comment on the way in which this plan has kind of shoehorned its way into being approvable, theoretically approvable. It just there's a lot of just very marginal appropriateness there, just in terms of it's right on the edge of the setback from the high water mark. It's the septic tank is literally like one side of the septic tank seems to be literally right on the side of on the border of the CVCA area. The house shape itself, or the cottage shape itself, is unusual, very long and narrow, which is an unusual building footprint, unless you're talking about a trailer or like a mobile home or something like that. I think it's the corner of the structure is slated to be 26 feet from the road allowance, which strikes me as incredibly close to a road allowance to be building a structure. Going with what I can see on the plan, it seems that they've designated the parking area to be, again, like right abutted up against the septic tank, which I think anybody knows is not a good idea to be parking a car on top of a septic tank. And the structure itself is designated to be placed, like one corner is right bordering exactly on the setback from the high water mark, so with no give either to move in any direction on that, or to get the measurements wrong or anything when during construction. And it seems that they've got it built so that there's a utility line that passes like directly in front of the building, between the structure and the water body. Again, tough to see from that plan. So in summation, I would say there are so many near misses that I think it behooves the council to maybe take a look at this and see whether this is actually an appropriate site at all to be building a structure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Yeah, a lot of those things are to do with the health unit as far as the septic placement and things around that. Is there anything, Laura, you could add to that? Or
A couple things, yes. Thank you, Mayor Martin. First off, I want to say that if this property had been zoned shoreline or seasonal residential in the first place, which is a more appropriate zone, it would go straight to building permit. We wouldn't have to be here today. The setback from the rear property line, so behind the cottage at 26 feet, exceeds the minimum for a shoreline residential zone. And that's, the rezoning is to permit this, essentially rezoning it to a seasonal residential property. So everything that is being presented is in keeping with a seasonal residential property. The setback to the high water mark, I know there's some concerns here about being kind of right touching the toe of the setback limits, but that was determined by Crow Valley Conservation Authority. So I am completely confident that that is an appropriate location. The property owner can probably speak to this a little bit better, but I believe he's tailored the building to be able to fit into the building envelope that he has. So without having to go through a massive amount of studies and that type of thing, he's worked with the township and with the Conservation Authority to find a location for the proposed recreational dwelling that's very appropriate for the property.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll ask one more time. Is there anybody against this application? Okay, we'll move into anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application. I see Jason Ho on here. I don't know whether he had anything to add to it to help us here.
Hi, good morning, Mayor Martin and council members, and thank you, Laura, for making the presentation. I purchased a property in July, and I have since had the chance to stay at the property, and I was very pleased by the natural characteristics, and I'm even more determined to work with all the authorities and the Conservation Authority to preserve as much of the natural environment that the site has to offer as possible. And I've met a lot of the neighbors and the local merchants, and I think this is a great place to have a cottage and come and spend time at. And I'm absolutely willing to work with anyone to kind of develop the cottage scheme into the best it can be. As Mark had mentioned, yes, it is very close to kind of being shoehorned in by all the regulations. That's because, you know, there are a good numbers of restrictions on the site. When I initially assessed the property, I actually didn't even think I could build on it, but after consulting with Crow Valley Conservation and with the municipality, I worked with a designer to finally found a proposal that would work, and I had also had some consultations since with Crow Valley to determine that it's not problematic. So that's why it's very close to kind of the restrictions. That's because it was tailored to be so. So
Excuse me.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. I wanted to speak against the application, but I couldn't find my unmute button. May I still speak?
Yeah, I
My
think we
name
have.
is Anita Newell.
Okay. What's your name again? State it for the.
Anita Newell.
Okay.
I live across the river, and there's the little wetland that you're referring to is a very small sliver of wetland. And my concern is environmental and wildlife. I've lived here since 2006 and had a cottage here since 1990. And I've had a chance to observe a lot of wildlife and a lot of the natural environment. And there has been tremendous pressure on it over the years because of development up and down the river. But I just want to know whether the Crow Valley Conservation Authority talked at all about the wildlife. And sorry, I just want to list some of the wildlife that I see in this tiny little sliver of wetland. It supports a tremendous amount of the wildlife. We have otters, beaver, deer, fox, turtles, ducks, frogs, geese, a heron, pileated woodpecker, and a list as long as my arm of songbirds. And it's a very tiny sliver of wetland. So there's a lot of pressure on it already. And I'm just wondering whether the Crow Valley Conservation Authority considered that at all.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure that's all comes into their studies as far as some of the rules that are there are around all the wildlife and trying to protect everything around there. So thank you for that. Mr. Ho, were you finished? Sorry about that. Were you finished?
No, but I would like to mention to Anita that I am as determined as she is to preserve and keep all these wildlife on site. I'm personally very much of an enthusiast for nature, and what my objective here is to build a building that I can live in that's equally responsible. And the previous owner hasn't really been very respectful on the land, I understand, and with all the littering, and I intend to clean as much of all that up as I can and in going forward, and sort of being able to be in harmony with the land. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask one more question?
It's not for, basically it's to take comments here right now. If it's specifically to this, you can state one more thing here and then we'll move on.
I have cottages on either side of me, and one of them was bought by someone about 3 years ago, and they have turned it into an Airbnb, and there are dozens of people there all the time. So my concern is whether this would be turned into an Airbnb.
All right, well, let's, right now, this is specifically to the planning application. And those things there will be something, we'll see where this goes as we move out of this. So are you finished then, Mr. Ho?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask for the second time, is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? And the third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none. Councillor Webb, I seen your hand up there.
Yeah, just a question. In the notes, it said there was public comments received from Mr. and Mrs. Middleton concerning driveway access. Have all those problems been taken care of, or we've talked to the Middletons and they're okay with what's going on?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we looked at the deed for Mr. Ho's property, and it was determined that he does not have deeded access onto Fire Route 18A, even though a portion of it does cross his property on the southwestern tip. So he's decided to access via Fire Route 18 instead, so that there's no issues at all. That was relayed to the Middletons, and it was talked about with Mr. Ho as well.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, then. The Middletons were on the line here. I didn't hear from them during the portion.
I'm here.
Okay, and it sounds like
I just figured out how to turn the mute button on myself.
Okay.
So yes, I did not know about that it's going to access from Fire Route 18 now instead of, I mean, my understanding is that Jason has a right to enter over the right access, what the heck is it called now? The right of way, and through his own property. I had no problem with that. We were just making sure it wouldn't cross over ours. But if it's not even going in that way now, then we have absolutely no problem with this application. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, okay, so we've went through all the questions here. Has council got any more questions here before we go out of this public meeting? Okay, so I'll take a motion to receive the applications. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? Carried. So we'll move out into the public out into our regular meeting, and we do have 3 bylaws here. It's up to council. We can deal with them now, or we can leave them until the end of the meeting. What's your preference?
We'll move them. You want to move them now?
Get them out of the way. Okay. So we have we have 3 bylaws here. Would you take care of them now then, Laura?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. The first is a bylaw amendment, zoning bylaw amendment for from our last meeting, and that's with regards to the Stadlers. And it's, I'm just trying to, I got 2 different papers here, so we'll, and it's, let me get these things in order. The numbers on the one application don't match the other, so are on my agenda. So the first one is Stadler, and it's 2020-041 is what I have here on the computer. So it's a zoning bylaw amendment from last meeting. I'll look for a motion with regards to that one. Deputy Mayor Giroux, are you moving it?
I'll move that application to.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Webb, all in favor of that? And that's carried. The next one is application 2020-042, and that's the Daniel Graham zoning bylaw amendment.
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis and seconder. Counselor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that one's carried. And the third one we have here is for Jason Ho, 2020-043. What's your thoughts there?
Motion to approve the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moved by Counselor Ellis, seconder. Is there a seconder for that one? Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor of that application? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Laura, and thank you everyone that took part in that part of the meeting. And we'll move on to our next is minor variances, and with the Deputy Mayor in the chair. So I'll look for a motion to move into Committee of Adjustment. Moved by Counselor Pomeroy, seconded by Counselor Webb. All in favor? That's carried. There you go, Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I am having technical difficulties here this morning with a couple of my computers also. So if I happen to get off the air or whatever, you'll have to be patient. First of all, I have a technical question for Bianca. Are you there, Bianca?
I'm here, Dave.
Bianca, I've only got three or four pictures at the top of my screen and a full screen. So if I go into my share screen, will that solve the problem, or is that the way we're podcasting today?
No, you'll want to go to your right-hand corner and click where it says gallery view.
Apparently I should have wrote that down last week.
That's okay. Did it work?
It worked, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, I'm set. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order and remind the members of the committee of their requirement to disclose any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof if it should arise. This public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. I now ask our planner consultant to provide our first minor variance. I believe it's A 1120.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Giroux. This application is for property owners Jeff and Jackie Whiting. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The agent is Timberline Construction. Municipal address is 44 Fire Route 91A. Roll number 153101000092740. Lot 7, concession 9. The area is 1.3 acres. The zoning is seasonal residential. The official plan designation is shoreline residential, and the ward is Methuen. The purpose of this application is to seek relief from Section 4.36 to permit the construction of an attached deck located at 24.39 meters from the high water mark, to permit an attached screen room located at 25.3 meters from the high water mark, and to permit an addition located at 25.3 meters from the high water mark on a seasonal residential property having being within the limits of what is existing. My recommendation is that minor variance application A1120 for the construction of the attached deck, sunroom, and addition located in the water yard be approved with the following conditions: that the development be done in accordance with the site plan committed, that any requisite approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the building permit being issued. And we have heard from Crow Valley Conservation, they have no concerns. In your report, there's a note for an encroachment agreement for 5 years for the structures on the unopened municipal road allowance. That is fluid and that's changing, and I've been working with the agent for the property owners. There's essentially two options here. They can remove the structure immediately, or they can enter into an encroachment agreement for 2 years instead of 5 to remove, at which time that the structures would have to be removed, and that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application. And so as I mentioned, this is to permit the new deck, screened-in room, and addition to an existing cottage on Cashabog Lake The application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance and is considered minor, appropriate, and in keeping with the official plan and zoning bylaw. As such, it is my recommendation that this application be approved.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Is the applicant present on screen today or on the Zoom meeting?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition to this application that's on our meeting today? I'll ask that one more time. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, I'm here as well. I'm Jeff's wife. I'm Jackie, but I'm going to let Jeff speak first.
Thank you.
Yeah, obviously we're new to the community. I'm Jeff Whiting, by the way, and you did pronounce my name accurately, so thank you. We obviously just purchased this property approximately about a year ago. Some of the things that were just talked about with the septic system and the shed and an old outhouse, or a privy as it's called, just kind of come recently into question, and I guess that part is a bit hard for us to understand. There is permits issued for when the cottage was built and for when that septic system was installed on a road allowance that I can't foresee ever being used as a road allowance. There's actually 2 roadways on our property. This one, which the hydro line basically runs on part of it. It actually comes into our property as well. But that part, you'll have to explain to me why that's a problem when it was approved previous.
Thank you for your comments. I will state that we're talking about 2 different issues here. We're talking about a minor variance, but I will allow Laura, if she will, to speak to this.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Essentially, when a building is built and a septic permit is issued, 2 different agencies come into effect. So there's the municipality and there's Peterborough Public Health. Right. Peterborough Public Health, they're the ones that issue the septic permit, and they may not necessarily know that that is the location of an unopened road allowance, whereas the municipality would have. And we essentially get the permit without necessarily an exact location of where the septic will be, just knowing that they're acting under that section of the Ontario Building Code. So that's kind of where that came into effect. In terms of that road allowance not being opened up in the future, you're probably right. It would take a long time and a huge population explosion for that. However, our official plan does not permit or strongly suggest to not sell unopened road allowances that lead to water. So even though it's bisecting your property and even though you access it, we would be reluctant to sell it because it does lead to water. So that's kind of where this comes into play with that. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's an answer. I'm not sure I quite understand it, but the logic behind it being a roadway when there is a very good roadway at the other corner of the property. But as far as with the to what we're talking about today, our cottage, I mean, we're looking to add on very minorly to it just because it's quite tiny, and obviously we have 3 kids, and when they come, it's a little bit cramped. It's pretty much camping in a cottage, and so this would help us meet those needs. I guess I don't want to cloud the 2 issues as the councillor mentioned. But I know you brought it up, so that's why the only reason I asked.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Whiting. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Okay, then I'm going to turn it over to the committee. Are there any questions or comments from the members of the Committee of Adjustment? Mayor Martin?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. There's a lot of things to go with it, but I'd be prepared to pass this minor variance application A1120.
All right, thank you, Mayor Martin. We have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor of the motion? Hands high, please. That motion is passed.
Thank you.
Once again, I will state that the next public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. And Laura, if you could present the next one.
Thank you very much. So this application is A-12-20 for Joel and Daniela Mackey. The agent is Bob Prinz. The municipal address is 164 Fire Route 33. Roll number is 153101000323002. Lot 13, concession 4. The area is 0.656 acres. The zoning is seasonal residential. The official plan designation is shoreline residential, and the ward is Belmont. The purpose of this application is to seek relief from section 4.36 together with section 4.1C and section 11.2.1D to permit the reconstruction and expansion of an attached deck on a cottage and to permit the construction of a detached garage on a shoreline residential property, as well as 2 small additions to the rear of the cottage. My recommendation is that the minor variance application A1220 for the front and side deck of a cottage located 1.9 meters from the high water mark, and to permit 2 small additions to the rear of the cottage, and to permit a detached garage with a height of 7.16 meters, be approved with the following conditions: that the development be done in accordance with the site plan submitted, that any requisite approvals be received by the applicable approval authority prior to the building permit being issued. And we have heard from Pro Valley Conservation Authority. They have no concerns with this application. And that a building permit is to be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application. As I mentioned, this is to permit 2 small additions to the rear of the cottage, bringing the building closer to the lot line than what is permitted, as well as the redevelopment of the deck along the front and side of the cottage. Additionally, this application is to allow for a garage with an increased height. This application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance, as it is considered minor, appropriate, and in keeping with the official plan and zoning bylaw. It is my recommendation that this application be approved.
All right, thank you, Laura. And is the applicant present with us today? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Because we're on Zoom, I'm going to ask that again. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? I guess we have no one there. Are there any questions or comments from the Committee of Adjustment on this application? Councillor Webb?
Well, pretty straightforward, Deputy Mayor. I'd make motion that we accept the recommendation of the planner. Move ahead.
Thank you for that. Yep. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy that the application move forward, Laura. Under the, all in favor? Motion is passed. Carried. We have another one, Laura?
We do. Okay, so this one is, did you want me to go or do you want to?
Yes, please. Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
So this application is for A-13-20 for James Brownlee and Ashley Christie. The agent is Bob Prince. Municipal address is 124 Fire Route 30. Roll number is 153101000325800. Lot 12, concession 5. The area is 0.2 acres. The zoning is seasonal residential. The official plan designation is shoreline residential, and the ward is Belmont. During the course of this application, it was determined that an environmental impact study would be required. and that had been a condition of the minor variance. However, Crow Valley Conservation has since asked for an elevation survey to be completed. So it is my recommendation that we defer this application until their requirements are satisfied.
Thank you for that, Laura. I don't think I'll have to go through the rest of the application form in this public meeting. If that's your recommendation, I will just ask the members of the committee if they will accept that. So moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb, that to approve your recommendation to defer. All in favor? That motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
That was all. I will now take a motion to turn the gavel back over to the mayor. Councillor Webb, Councillor Ellis, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mayor Martin.
All right, thank you, Dave. With that, we'll move into delegations here. And we have one delegation here, and it's a pre-recorded presentation from Troy Speck, CAO of the County of Peterborough. I'll ask Bianca if she can make this happen, because I don't know how you do this one. Nobody get excited, your screen just went to shared, so.
We were able to accomplish in Hi, my name is Troy Speck, and I'm the CAO for the County of Peterborough. Today, I'd like to provide you with an overview of the county's 2019 accomplishments and our goals for 2020 as they relate to our strategic plan. Just as a reminder, these are the pillars of the county's strategic plan: industry and business, communications, financial responsibility, infrastructure, organizational development, and housing. I'm going to take you through each of those pillars and tell you a little bit about what we were able to accomplish in 2019 and what some of our goals are for 2020. Under the heading of industry and business, in 2019, we worked with Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and Eastern Ontario Regional Network to obtain funding approvals for the Cell Gap project from the provincial and federal governments, $21 million each towards the total $213 million project. We were able to renegotiate the Memorandum of Understanding with Peterborough and the Kawarthas Economic Development, or PCED, which establishes them as the economic development agency for both the county and the city. We were also able to renegotiate the Consolidated Municipal Services Management, or CMSM, agreement with the city. This agreement lays out the agreement for sharing and cost recovery regarding services such as paramedics, social services, housing, and Provincial Events Act administration. Toward the end of 2019, our Community Economic Development Initiative, or CEDI, with local First Nations, resulted in the signing and celebration of a friendship accord between the county, local townships, and First Nations. As for our 2020 objectives in industry and business, obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to put some other things on the back burner, and you will see that as a constant theme through this presentation. For business and industry, we're working with PCED to support and manage efforts in response to the pandemic, including participation on the Warden and Mayor's Economic Recovery Task Force, developing immediate, midterm, and long-term recovery plans. We will be continuing to work on the County OP, including completing the required land needs assessment. The PCAD board has identified the need to explore a regional employment land study or strategy. And we will continue to support the Eastern Ontario Regional Network's Cell Gap project through purchase of county services such as procurement and GIS support. Under the communications pillar, in 2019, accomplishments included various successful communication campaigns developed and rolled out, such as the James A. Gifford Causeway Communications Strategy, the Is Your Urgency an Emergency 911 campaign, and the creation of county connection videos that introduced viewers to 22 activities carried on by the county. And again, the SETI Friendship Accord was signed. As for our 2020 communications objectives, again, we find ourselves managing extensive communications required in response to COVID-19. We plan to develop and present a new communications strategy. We will continue creating county connection videos to share via our online platforms. And we plan to finalize the bush country signage policy. Under the financial responsibility pillar, in 2019, we were able to finalize the 2019 budget and prepare for 2020's budget. We've now entered into IT managed service agreements with 3 townships. We finalized a new procurement policy and documentation, and we were successful with our funding application to cover the cost of a municipal modernization program, which will include components such as a service delivery and org review, IT and GIS master plan, and an IT business continuity plan. Last, I will point out that in 2019, Lang Pioneer Village had near record attendance and revenues. Objectives for financial responsibility in 2020 include managing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. As we know, it has already impacted our expenditure side in areas such as paramedics, and anticipate it will as well in areas such as the joint services shared with the City of Peterborough. I mentioned earlier the funding received for the service delivery and org review and other municipal modernization programs, and that work started with our consultant MNP. Some of you have already been involved in interviews, and the final report and recommendations will come forward this summer. We hope to develop funding and engagement strategies for the asset management plan that was presented to County Council last year. And we anticipate we will still have to be in a position to understand and manage changes resulting from provincial reviews and legislative change. You may recall that earlier in the year, pre-COVID, the province had announced coming changes to services such as paramedics and public health. Those review efforts have been put on hold by the province due to the pandemic, but we expect they will continue to move forward with them eventually. Under the infrastructure pillar, 2019 accomplishments included commencing work on the Gifford Causeway project, and there's some shots of that work there. The Gannon Narrows Bridge was completed. We kicked off the start of our transportation master plan development. And we completed a number of facilities energy retrofits. Our infrastructure objectives in 2020 include completing the IT and GIS master and business continuity plans, continuing work on the transportation master plan, and completing various infrastructure projects. Under the organizational development pillar, in 2019, we developed a new county strategic and operational plan for the period 2019 to 2022, which forms the basis of today's report. We appointed a new director of infrastructure, Grant Murphy. and a new Director of Human Resources, Mary Spence. We hosted an all-staff meeting where we updated staff on the status of corporate projects, reinforced important corporate messaging, and gathered and analyzed employee responses to 8 key questions, which will be used to develop improved internal communications and departmental relationships. In 2020, our objectives are to manage the organizational impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, manage changes resulting from provincial reviews and legislative changes, and complete the service delivery and organizational review. Under the housing pillar, in 2019, again, we renegotiated the CMSM agreement with the city, which sees the city as the housing services provider for the county. We coordinated the city's contribution to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus research and lobbying efforts and the development of an EOWC white paper on housing. And Peterborough Renovates assisted 11 homeowners and households in the county. Housing objectives for 2020 include presenting the EOWC white paper titled Enhancing Affordability in Eastern Ontario to ministers and opposition of the provincial government at the 2020 Roma Conference. The city will be working with Millbrook Manor to extend operating agreement for 24 affordable seniors housing units. And the 10-year housing and homelessness plan sets 2020-2021 targets for housing needs in the county. And you'll see those targets up there on the slide. That's it for my presentation. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bianca, for providing that. So we don't have anybody here from the county, I don't see, so it would be just a matter of receiving it. A lot going on with the strategic plan. A lot of things have been done at the county. You've seen a lot of things in play over the last couple of months. COVID has affected a little bit, but I don't know whether Dave has anything to add. The big thing I think out of there is the service delivery review for the county is going to be hopefully helpful at being more efficient. And the Eastern Wardens Caucus meetings, lately we've seen a lot with regards to broadband, and that's a big thing in our area. So hopefully in the future we're going to see some benefits of those meetings, and we'll get some better broadband happening in Eastern Ontario. A lot of people think it's just our area. It's pretty well everywhere east of from Peterborough East that struggle with broadband and cell gaps. So hopefully all these things get taken care of over the next several months. So do you have anything to add to that, Dave, from the county's perspective?
No, I think the county this year, as usual, has been very, very busy, and the COVID pandemic has certainly, I don't think, slowed things down that much. I think they're moving forward. The transportation master plan and so on is moving ahead, and service delivery review. So I think everybody's doing their job, and I think they're doing a job well done.
It's funny when you see from a few months ago the meeting with staff from the county and the grouping that was happening there, how things have changed. But anyways, so I'll look for a motion to receive that delegation or that video delegation from the county, moved by Councillor Webb, seconder. Deputy Mayor Giroux, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll move into staff reports for information, and the one that we have here is from Clerk Angioni with regards to the bottle drive. I don't know whether you had anything to add to that, but it's just if anybody's been out to the 6th line and seen the pilot project that's been happening, that's comes from the initiative that council wanted to bring forward as far as some sort of a bottle collection or to try and raise some funds for some of our groups. And the first group here that's trying it out here is the Figure Skating Club. And it seems to be pretty successful. I've seen her unloading a trailer load of bottles yesterday and cans. So hopefully we'll get a report back from them on how successful it is, and we can maybe try and perfect this a little bit as we move forward. Bob, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So just to provide a summary, this is a program that was initiated by council in August of last year in 2019. And as you indicated, the pilot project is now underway. It is working well by all accounts. So staff is monitoring this situation, and we have had discussions about how to improve it going forward as it expands into other groups. One of the items that we're currently examining is a proper shelter to house the collection. So that is an item that may become a budget matter during budget deliberations for 2021. So it is under review. It's going well, and this report is simply brought forward for council's update and information.
All right, thank you. Council got any questions or comments? Art, go ahead.
Oh, a big thank you to staff for getting it up and running, especially during these COVID times. A lot of these organizations are struggling. So every little bit that we in the community can do, whether it's, donating to help these organizations out, I think is key. I like the advertisement, and hopefully maybe we could get it on the town sign along the highway as well.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, we certainly can do that.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to receive the reports for information. Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so next we'll move into staff reports with follow-up action. And the first report is from Ryan Andrew with regards to recreation and facilities and installation of the ice surface. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, and good morning, Council.
So I'll let you get right into this report.
Yeah, so just to give you some background on what's going on here, and I'm really surprised we're actually sitting here talking about this. I never thought that we'd ever be sitting here discussing whether the ice should be going in and at what time that should be going in. But with this COVID-19 pandemic and what's been going on, it's things are changing really quickly, and we're doing our best to be fluid and adapt to what's happening. So basically, the purpose of the report is to seek direction from council in terms of the plans to install ice at the Havelock Community Center. As council may know, the building was closed on March 14th, and since then it's remained closed. Staff have been working through the guidance document that was provided to us to ensure that if council decides to reopen, that we meet all the regulations and guidelines set out by the province. So that's one thing we've been doing. Staff have also been communicating with our volunteer organizations, specifically the Figure Skating Club and the Minor Hockey Association. So it's been quite a challenging time for them, basically trying to get their information together to provide to staff so that we can bring that information to council. So with things changing so quickly, it's certainly something that new information happens all the time. And since that, this report was submitted last Thursday for this meeting, and since then I've heard from the Havelock Minor Hockey Club, and with all the changes to the programming and all the challenges that they're facing, they decided to not proceed with their previously planned programming. Minor hockey was not looking to participate in any league games or the 50-person max bubble. They were planning on focusing on skills development for their program and running a few hours a week. So that's one change from this report. So basically what that means is when you get into the financial impact portion of the report, you can basically pull the 85 hours, or the equivalent would be 7,000. So you can just make a calculation there and a reduction to the revenue that we're anticipating on calculating. So yeah, so I guess along with some of the decrease in surface rental demand this year, that's something new that we've been looking at. The other thing that I thought was important to mention to council was that under the new regulations and guidelines, staff will be required to do a lot more cleaning and disinfection of the building. So that also means that in between rentals there'll be a delay period where we only allow a certain amount of people in, and then following their rental, we would require roughly 30 minutes to disinfect the change rooms and all the common surfaces prior to the next group coming in. So basically what that means is typically we would operate the facility with one operator, but in this case we would require an additional staff, and I guess what we were thinking was we would still require another student for the winter if council chooses to reopen the building. So and having looked at kind of all the information, I put together kind of a list of action items that council could review, and those are just some of the things that staff would be required to put in place. We would be required to look at the return to play plans from any organization that's coming in. We'd look at retaining any contact information from people using the building for contact tracing purposes. So basically, looking at this year, we typically do start the ice plant on October 1st. Usually it takes 10 to 14 days to install the ice. So our goal is typically to have it in for Thanksgiving weekend. So that was one option. And the second option would be delay the ice installation until the 1st of either November, December, or January. The reason for it being on the 1st of the month, we already have a policy that we only start on the 1st of a month based on the hydro rates and usage there. So if council decides to go with that option, just keep in mind that it would take anywhere from 10 to 14 days to install the ice. And then the third option would be to just delay any scheduling of ice installation plans at this time, and just continue to monitor the COVID-19 situation and then wait for the fall strategy to be released. So when you're looking at the revenue side of the report, basically just took the average revenue that's collected over a season. So roughly the arena brings in about 60,000, and just in surface rentals a year, that would be reduced probably by about a third now. Keep in mind, these are estimated numbers. A lot of these organizations are still finalizing ice times, and I'm hearing through communication through other townships that there's a lack of ice time out there based on the demand in other surrounding municipalities. So it's hard to tell, and it's really hard to give confirmed numbers right at this point. But if council decides to move forward, there would certainly work to do. We have some work to do on our end to prepare the facility, but we'll certainly look at ways that we can operate the most efficiently and maximize our performance here with staffing assignments. So yeah, basically I'm sure there's probably going to be some questions. So that's kind of summarizing what's in the report there.
Thank you, Ryan. And yeah, I do agree with you. Who would have thought that we would be in this predicament trying to decide whether to put ice in when we have a building sitting there? So I do kind of agree, like your option one there. I don't see the need to rush into the October opening, but I think it's open for discussion as far as beyond that. Things are changing daily, and only having one arena, I've been watching our neighbors around us, and I think everybody is putting their ice in, except I did see Trent Hills has 2 rinks, and they're only opening one of them. And I'm not sure what Duro's doing. I haven't been able to get a hold of anyone there, but they have 2 rinks too. So how they deal with it, I don't know. But I'll open it up to council and see where their thoughts are. I personally like option 2 as far as just keep watching what's happening and see what comes forward in the next month for our October meeting. But is there any questions from council or comments? Barry, go ahead, and then Hart.
Yeah, okay. Excuse me, actually, option 3. Ford said, yesterday that he's going to extend some more restrictions in our area rather than just in the big cities. And we don't know where this is going. It's getting worse every day. So it's something we can't rush into because other arenas are taking this real serious, and I think we have to take it real serious too. And I just wouldn't want to rush into it. I think option 3 would delay the ice installation until further notice and monitor the COVID-19 stage 3 and wait for the province to release, the fall strategy. And I think that's the words that we have to have is the fall strategy. And I think we have to look at that. It's I know it's a money loser, the arena every year anyway, but I mean, this is crazy, especially when the parents don't want their kids, into hockey and mangling. I think figure skating has also made a statement that they won't proceed this year. The only thing we have is a bunch of old guys that want to play hockey, I guess. And we might have to clean a pond off or something. I don't know, but I think we should wait till we hear from the government on the fall strategy anyway. That's my own personal feeling.
Thank you. Hart, go ahead. Hart?
Oh, sorry, Jim. My computer's a little slow here. Yeah. Well, I agree with both of you, I guess, in a way, in that to me, 2 and 3 are pretty much the same thing until the first day of November, right? So, I mean, I'm with Barry in terms of we got to have another month here to see if things change. We really don't have to make a decision till the first day of November. So I think the most prudent thing to sit back and watch, maybe, like you said, talk to a few others in these communities, see, I know a lot of these rinks are opening now, so maybe we can gauge what kind of, what number of rentals they're getting or how full they are at capacity. If they are at capacity, then, maybe that's something that we could open and take advantage of, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're only at half capacity too, right? So I think right now, we have the time to, talk to other communities, because when it comes down to it, it's kind of going to be a dollars and cents decision, unfortunately. For me, I wouldn't like it to be just that. I think, especially heading into winter, given the last 7 to 8 months that everybody's been through, even though there might not be minor hockey and what are going on, that there has to be some kind of outlet for people in our community to get out and enjoy recreation. November to February, especially if, God forbid, down again. So moving forward, I would just like council to keep things like that in mind and maybe not focus entirely on the dollars and cents issue.
Okay, Councillor Ellis and then Deputy Mayor Giroux.
First of all, I want to thank Ryan for the detailed report. Some of the things that we sometimes don't understand or that you see in a report that kind of opens your eyes, as in all the work that has to be done to keep our facility a safe facility if we decide to open the doors. And I think we always have to keep that in mind with the changing times, as we've all talked about here. And I
I'm a strong believer that I think it's going to get worse. And so that's my top priority, is keep the public safe. The figure skating, Ryan, they were scheduled to come back at what point?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The figure skating has indicated they potentially could start in January. They're following what other clubs are doing that are under the Skate Canada guidelines. So they're taking it cautious too, and they're planning on potentially starting on January, but that also allows them time to kind of evaluate the situation and get further plans together to have a safe restart.
Well, and one of our concerns too was for minor hockey, because we all know they're a very weak facility, or a very weak group right now, and to shut them out, we were kind of concerned that, you know, it might kill them. But if they've already made their decision, and probably a smart one, playing it safe, that they're not going to be involved, then you know, I think looking at your reports, I think we might as well not rush definitely into anything. Watch what does happen, how much more it's going to tighten up for to operate. And so yeah, no big rush as far as I'm concerned. That's either option 2 or 3 that I would consider. And thanks again for your report.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Oh, I don't want to repeat a lot of stuff that's been said. I agree with most of your comments. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know when this is going to end. We do have some time before we make that decision, and I think that's the appropriate thing to do. By the sound of it, for now, if we opened it up, there wouldn't be school skating. There wouldn't be a lot of stuff going on. Would there be even public skating? We don't know that. I wouldn't want to put the ice in and then things turn worse and we have to take it back out again. So I think we have the time. I think we just sit on this and like you say, option 2 or 3, I think will work for us. Take another look at it then and make a decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Giroux. Go ahead, Councillor Webb.
Well, all I'm thinking is in a dollars and cents issue, if we're going to have the rink closed for the next month and a half in terms of staffing. So if we're not going to use the rink, the same amount of staffing at the rink.
Yeah, that'll be for another day. I think the thing here is to defer or to leave this until the October meeting, and we'll just look at one of the options. Like you say, 2 and 3 are very similar. And that'll be a part of the next report, I think, Ryan, as far as other options with regards to that. The other thing here too to look at between now and then is we were given money from the government to help us with these losses. And we got to look and see if that applies for this year. I think it fits right in. It's a huge loss for us. So see where that goes moving forward and maybe bring that into the report. And I think it's a moving target here. So October, if you bring a report back, some of the things that Councillor Webb talked about there might come into that plan there. But so go ahead, Art.
Well, can we have that for the next meeting? I'm just getting questions from about, you know, if the rink isn't going to be open, then, you know, what would the staffing be at the rink? Which I think are fair questions.
Oh yeah, and that'll have to come into when if it's not going to, Ryan, you could bring us back a report for your plan there. I guess that's option 4.
Yeah, so depending on what council chooses today, staff can begin working on assignment plans for staff, or at least provide information to council on the projects that we'd be working on. So, but I'd like to keep that separate if we could for this, just for the purpose of this report. Depending on what the outcome is and what council wants to do, then we can put that together for council's, direction further on. But I just wanted to add just another couple comments. Like, if we decide to defer opening the ice, staff we will be required some notice in terms of if we do decide to open, there will be preparations that will need to be made at the facility prior to reopening. That's just something that we needed to keep in mind. As of right now, we have been proceeding as in under the impression we were about to open, so the rink is close to being prepared, but there'll be some other maintenance that we've been holding out on, because if we're not going to reopen, then we could put that off for now.
Okay, yeah, there was a lot of plans in place, and it's too bad we couldn't get them moving if it's not open. But go ahead, Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've been kind of vague on our decision here. Are you looking for a motion, Mr. Mayor, of what actual one you're 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I motion.
Okay.
Are you prepared to make it there, Dave?
Well, I got to look at my options again. I think it's number 3 I was leaning towards.
Okay.
So I'll make it and see where it goes.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor of that motion? And that's good. Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for council.
Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Just one last question for Ryan. Saying that we've made the decision for option 3, would you be willing to bring a report back to next council meeting for your plan to utilize your staff if the arena does not open?
Through Mr. Martin, yeah, council can expect a further report on staff assignments with the decision to keep the arena closed.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, I just wanted to thank Steve for Saturday there. We had a problem with some graffiti back out on the Matheson property. He took care of it right away, went back there Saturday while he was, after he left the boat launch, and covered it up for us again. Unfortunately, there's a lot going on back there that shouldn't be, and I just wanted to make sure you thank Steve for that. And we had some issues at the arena that we're taking care of, so upstairs at the Lions Hall. So thank him for me, will you?
Yep, will do.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have a few reports here from Peter Lawson. So, Peter, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin and members of council. The first report I have is we had some requests for individual roads, actually, all leading to our 6-line transfer. And through talks with Peterborough County, there was no generic sign that they have in the county. So I had BMR Manufacturing in Trent Hills there put us together a sign. There is a regulation sign that we could put up, but it didn't really do the actual specific that this sign that they did put together for. So just looking for some direction on the signs to be installed on those individual roads.
Well, it's I keep hearing about signs, and we're getting pretty good at putting signs up wherever I go. But there is a problem with the waste that, and I know Councillor Ellis has been on the garbage patrol before, and County Road 48 is a real nightmare. And I'm sure the 6th line, anything leading to the waste site is a problem. So what's council's thoughts here? Councillor Ellis and the Deputy Mayor Giroux. I didn't see any other.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank Pete for carrying on with locating some decent signage. We all know, as you stated, Mr. Mayor, that the roads leading to our transfer station, especially after a weekend, the debris that's along the roads are quite noticeable, and we've got concerned citizens that go above and beyond, and they try to help clean up. And that's where the drive to get some signage. I know it's probably not going to cure everything, but at least draw attention to the fact anyway, and appreciate your efforts there, Pete. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I was going to go to Deputy Mayor Droe. Looks like he's having some technical difficulties.
I am having difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second here. Or go on to the next one.
Okay. Okay, I'll let you get that sorted out. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yes, I like your sign, Pete. It's the only thing on that sign. It's don't unload on the road, but there's nothing to say that there's a fine for unloading on the road neither.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, I agree with you, Councillor Pomeroy. Yeah, I thought of the same thing, and we could put some additional, and they're really small regulatory signs out that we could find. With that being said, it's pretty hard to catch the actual individual and stuff flying out of their truck to even give them a fine. So the thought was it was more of a, this was more of a descriptive sign to actually, make people realize what we were trying to stop. So.
Thanks, Pete. It is very descriptive. And I guess we can't get any more on that sign anyway.
No.
The only comment I had on the sign is it looks like a Chevy truck, and I'm surprised it's got that big a load in it. I should have a Ford there because then it can carry the load. But go ahead, Deputy Mayor Droe.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I guess I'm back online. Thank you for your report, Peter. And I like the color of the truck. I like the sign that is darker on the top, the one on the right-hand side. And it's worth mentioning that driving around yesterday, both in our township and our neighbor's township, there's several road signs that are put up that just have an old tin can on them. So I guess that means you can throw everything else but no tin cans.
Through you, Mayor Martin, that yes, Deputy Mayor Droe, that's actually the regulatory sign that would be put up if it wasn't for the ones that we had designed. So that you're exactly right. Those are exactly the regulatory signs. So this it didn't really do a whole lot of description. That's kind of why we went with this. So,
no.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else? If not, I'll look for a motion here. What you're thinking here, if you want to go ahead with it, which option? Go ahead, Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I got no problem going ahead with that. Make a motion to that effect.
Okay, so, and does it matter which sign, Peter, or do you want to know exactly which sign council likes? Or I think Deputy Mayor Droe said the one on the right.
What's the difference?
Just the bold writing, I think.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yep.
Okay. So the one on the right, Councillor Pomeroy or Barry?
Yep.
Okay, is there a seconder there? Councillor Ellis? All in favor? And that's carried. I'd be disappointed if we didn't install another sign after every meeting. So anyways, but this is a good one. So we'll move on to the next report there, Peter, with regards to McLean Street.
Yes, this report is dealing with the McLean 24 Avenue. Through Engage and staff, we've met, and I think we've come up with a pretty reasonable solution there that will look after the problem. We will be talking with all three residents there at 22, 24, and 26 McLean Avenue. The detailed sketch kind of describes it, but between 24 and 26, we're going to be doing a little bit of yard grading. Well, completely in front of 24, but 26 as well, just to capture all the water coming off the downspouts and aim it into the yard drain. The yard drain, then we can tie into the yard drain to the east to the house number 22, which will be no pavement being cut. So, and it'll be just some rehabilitation in the driveways and in the grass and sods. So.
Okay, thank you. Anything else or anything from council? What's your thoughts? Anybody got anything to add? I think it's great that you don't have to cut into the pavement. The only concern I had was with frost or freeze up of the pipe. I don't know how deep you're going with it, but I know there's one here on 46 that just freezes every winter, so it doesn't do anything anyway. So, Peter?
No, I think with the frost, as long as it's installed properly and the right slope, we should have no issue with that. But we have a few other area drains, that we have to keep an eye on as well, and so that will be just put onto our scope. Yep.
Okay, thank you. What's council's thoughts here? Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see that we're addressing the problem, and I like the way that it's proposed without cutting in the pavement, and hopefully it works. Thanks, Pete.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I just lost it here, but is there anything else from council? If not, I'll take a motion that we move ahead with that. At least talking with the residents in the area and see what they think. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next we have King Street East.
Yes. Yes, get some couple options here. Met with Engage again, and we discussed. We kind of feel we can option one, but we'd like to get some council's input on it. Option two involved cutting the asphalt, which is not really in my favor, but it might be, the best option here. But with the regrading of the front lawn and directing the water so it doesn't pool on the front lawn, I talked to John Sales this morning through Engage, and he didn't feel that we needed to pour another sidewalk there to do this. It was just going to be a regrading and a swale in the front yard to redirect the water around the house.
Okay. What's council's thoughts? Anybody got any questions or concerns? Deputy Mayor Giroux?
Thank you, Peter, for this report. And the only question I like the option one. The only question I have to that, has there been discussions with the property owners around there, what might take place yet?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, we did actually meet with Engage, John Sales on site, and with the Hearts, and they were okay with the water being directed around the house.
Thank you for that.
Okay. So what, do you want us to pick the option there then, Peter? Or I think the best, whatever the best is, I think is what we need to go with here. So once again, I don't know, whatever you think is the best option.
I would like to see us, I would like to see us option one and regrade the front yard and just, it seems to be the ponding that seems to be the issue with it. And yeah, I'd like to see option one. I would hate to cut into the new pavement and put the storm in, but I would like to see option one and just some regrading, bring up some existing grades and redirect the water. I think that will, because the curb and gutter does take the water. It just in certain times of the year seems to be the issue. So I think we could do it with option one, yes.
Does it deal with the ponding on the sidewalk that goes to their house at all, or is it just strictly the grading around the sidewalk?
Yeah, we'll be grading to the sidewalk and away from the sidewalk, so we'll gather the water off the sidewalk as well, yes.
Okay, all right, Councillor Webb?
Yeah, Pete, you said you spoke with the homeowner and they were fine with the regrade?
Yes, they like to see it elevated a little bit and then just regraded around the side. That's yes, the homeowner did say that he was okay with the going around and down the driveway.
Okay, and they weren't in favor.
You're freezing up there, Hart.
Yeah, sorry, my computer's all slow here today. I said they weren't in favor of the sewer, Pete?
We discussed both of them, but the thought was that the existing grade of their property should have been brought up when the road was put through. So they just want to get rid of the ponding of the water. That was the consensus, I believe, there. So yeah.
Just try to Pete, but if that's what they want. Then.
Okay, Councillor Ellis.
Motion to approve the recommendation by our road superintendent, Mr. Peter Lawson, for option 1.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis that we go with option 1. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Peter. My thoughts here, we'll go down to number 15, or the cemetery report there before maybe and then I suggest if you want to break for 5 minutes, that's up to you, or we can carry on right through. So the next report is with regards to the winter maintenance, or sorry, the drainage. Councillor Ellis, you stated you wanted to declare conflict?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, please.
Okay. Okay, so Bianca can take care of that. And I'll note that Councillor Ellis is put on hold here. So Peter, the 6th line.
Yes, this has been ongoing here for quite some time, but again, we met with Engage out there on the 6th line, and we've come up with a couple options. It's a tough one. It really is. It's been quite a conversation, and we were hoping to get something done before the winter and the spring thaw comes again, so we can have something resolved hopefully in the fall. Yeah, staff would like to see option 1 approved, which would be our preference. But I wanted to bring both to council just to let you know the discussions that Engage and staff had on site.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. What's council's thoughts here? Is anybody, sorry, I didn't. Okay, Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I kind of like option 1 here too. It's a very, very hard spot for her to get rid of, you know, the water. I got a damn phone ringing. It's
as long as we don't hear the message.
He won't. It's no, I think option 1 is great because you're going to divert across the road for it to absorb in on that side of the road rather than keep flooding on the west side.
Okay. Anybody else? I was going to get Barry to make the motion, but I think he left the building. So, our Deputy Mayor Giroux, you were going to speak there, or you're going to make the motion?
Yeah, I think option 1 is going to do. It's very, like Councillor Palmer said, this is a difficult situation here. We got water running on both sides of the road. I think option 1 for me is better than 2. I'm not a roads engineer, so I'd like to. I'll make the motion to go with option 1, provided that all the T's are crossed and so on. Peter, you've already spoke to the landowners in both sides, so I'd like to see us get this off the table.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Webb, you had something there?
No, I was just going to move the motion, Jim. So.
Okay, so you seconding it?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Pomeroy, did you have anything else there?
Oh, that's good. That was.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Peter. That's been on the books for a long time, and hopefully that solves the problem, because once we put a culvert in, we're taking responsibility of where that water's going. So hopefully this is the right option. So the next one is the winter maintenance. Just lost it here, but winter maintenance for Highway 7, one of those things that we're lucky enough to get to look after.
Yes, exactly. Yes, they did have a small increase there from 2019 to this year. But yes, hopefully that yeah, our staff's recommendation is that it gets approved and we can go ahead.
All right then, Councillor Pomeroy.
I'll make a motion, we approve the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we go with the small increase with MCON. Seconder. Councillor Webb, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we're going to move into the planner with Victoria Cemetery.
Hi.
Welcome back, Laura.
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to get permission from council to enter into an agreement with the property owner at 1288 County Road 48, who is subject to the zoning bylaw amendment this morning, for the purposes of maintaining and managing the open cemetery, which is Victoria Cemetery, on the subject property. Further, that council directs staff to begin the process of severing the cemetery parcel from the property. The cemetery is zoned institutional, and the intention is for it to be donated to the municipality. This is a little bit fluid at this time. So when I wrote the report, we were just looking at really entering into an agreement and seeing kind of what we could do to start the severance process. We've since discovered that the survey that was done by the property owner was not registered. So if council is interested in taking over the cemetery portion, which I highly recommend, we would have to pay for the survey to be registered, which is $2,150 plus HST. And essentially what that will do is the surveyor will put part 1 and part 2 being the cemetery and the residential use. Then we can just acquire through the Municipal Act part 1, which would be the cemetery. The property owner is willing to donate this land to us for a tax receipt, which is very generous. The bylaw that I have drafted up for the zoning bylaw accommodates all of the deficiencies on the residential portion, so there would be no further planning. The only other cost would be registering the various properties on title and registering the agreement on title while we go through the process to acquire the land.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we have an option here. I don't know if council got any questions or comments? Councillor Ellis, I know you've been working around this. We were doing so good too.
Yeah. Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thanks Laura for her time spent on trying to sort out a long time, I guess you could call it an issue over the past, things that weren't completed properly and so on. So this does kind of clean everything up. The property owner, Mr. Graham, has been very cooperative. And I think we need to proceed and through Laura's recommendation, carry on. There is a small cost to the municipality, but it does clean things up and carry forward in the proper manner. So yeah, I would like to make a motion when you approve the recommendation from our planner, Laura Stone. And so.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
I'll second that motion.
All right, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor of that motion? Or if there's any other questions or comments, sorry, I didn't ask that, but did anybody have any questions or comments there? Okay, all in favor? And that's carried. I did see everyone's hands. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
So what's council's thoughts here? You can take a 5-minute break, or we can carry on and try and get through this. It's up to you. I'll look for a motion to take a 5-minute recess, moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we'll take 5 minutes. We'll come back here at 16 minutes after 11. Bob, are you there?
I've been here all along. I just can't get this computer going.
Okay. All right. We'll get a motion to resume the meeting.
So moved.
By Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, Wendland, we have your asset management plan here.
Good morning, Mayor Martin and Council. Before you is a revised asset management plan due to the provincial changes in the legislation and the OREGs to add in condition ratings, how it's going to impact the taxpayers and the users as a whole, and also investment strategies and financing options. So basically, we would need to have this in compliance by 2023 and 2024 for all the different changes. So I worked hard at getting this completed way in advance of those deadlines so that we could potentially capture any future grant opportunities, because we would have the document completed to show exactly what the status of our assets are, and the province will be using this document to look at any grant opportunities, but also it's a good working document for council and staff to determine budgetary levels. So there is the key statistics at the beginning of the document that shows you, what our average annual reinvestment rate should be. So it's just above the COLA at 2.24%. So we're not hugely behind, but there is some assets that would need more attention than others. So we're going to have the new roads need study shortly. So that would be, because this is a living document after it would be approved by council, it can be amended as new information comes forward on the asset condition readings. So basically, there's a lot of information here to digest, but it also is good information for the public and council and staff and for the province for grant opportunities. So I'll just open it up if anybody has any questions or comments.
Yeah, thanks, Wendland. It is a huge document. In the future, it'd be nice with a big document like this to have a summary and some recommendations in it, like of what you found out of it. It'd be easier for council anyways. Like by the time you go through this whole thing, it's I'm sure there was some highlights would have helped us probably as far as moving forward. So I'll open up to Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, well, and that's a very extensive report. I just found I didn't have time to read it all through. I got partway through it, but there's a lot of things to comprehend in there, and I think we're going to need a little bit of time before, give council some time to read it. Maybe everyone else has, but I know I didn't get through it all.
That's what I mean. It'd be nice to get some, like something from the treasurer as far as, some highlights, so we could help us rather than like it is a huge document to get through. But Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
You're
Just to echo your comments, Mr. Mayor, the comment about different highlights during different segments of your presentation, there is a ton of work there, and I also was not capable of going through and reading it all and maintaining stuff out of it. So the different segments where you could highlight or comment stuff that council should, you know, zero in on or focus on, that would be a great help. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? It might be something to receive it, and maybe you could give us some highlights, Gwendolyn, to help us through this document so we totally understand it. Like you say, we're way ahead of the schedule, like the schedule of when it needs to be done by, so we do have a bit of time. But rather than approve it, we could, you know, we can have a little more time with it, I think. So,
sure. And maybe I could have, like, the consultant wasn't available today for the Zoom meeting, so maybe we can have him available if there's any super technical questions on how the document was compiled.
okay. So the consultant did a lot of this, did they then? Is that how it works?
Well, it's all based on our data, and we had several meetings with staff and the consultant to compile how we wanted the asset management plan to be presented. So there's a lot of graphs, et cetera, so that it's easier to read than just straight writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the comments out there I've heard as far as, and we've said it before, like, you know, like we are pretty healthy here, and we do manage our money pretty well. And it sounds like that second wave of funding for COVID could come back on what we have in reserves and things like that, which isn't fair. If it's kind of putting the ones that are responsible. So this is one of those documents that we want to make sure it's right, and we need to understand it completely as we move forward. So, so is there any other comments there, or Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, if at all possible, I would like, you know, maybe if Wendland could go through this and make some comments, and maybe we could meet, you know, council could meet with her and ask some questions, because it's, you know, it's quite a long report. I don't know how long it would take for to do the Coles Note version of it, but there's a lot of questions I think that council should ask, and you being the one that could probably answer them. And I don't think we need to go outside of the office to get the answers. I think you know, and I think council would like to find out.
Yeah, okay. So if I could get a motion that we receive this and with some follow-up from the treasurer in the future here, moved by Councillor Ellis. And you can word that better, Bob, probably. I'm just, and then seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Did you have a comment, Dave?
No, I just wanted to thank Gwendolyn. It is very in-depth, and I don't pretend to understand it all, that's for sure, and I didn't get it all read. But I do want to thank her for what she's done here so far. And I think she'd be the one, as Councillor Pomeroy said, to explain some of the stuff that I don't understand. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you.
So all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next we have a report from the clerk with regards to in-person meetings protocol. Go ahead, Bob.
Yep.
I'm just
Through you,
trying
Mayor
to,
Martin. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just trying to, mine all go really small. You got to get them back up to size. I don't know what's happening, but first few reports are good, and then they just go like little spots. Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So this report follows up the delegation from the Ontario Clean Water Agency that was presented to council on August the 24th at the regular council meeting. Unfortunately, representatives from Sewer Technologies were unable to attend that meeting. So council requested that a in-person meeting be held with the Ontario Clean Water Agency and Sewer Technologies. Given the current state of affairs with COVID-19, an in-person protocol is required before we meet. So this report presents that protocol. And in a nutshell, it deals with physical distancing, it deals with hand sanitization, the wearing of masks, and contact tracing.
Okay. All right. Well, it's something we got to get on with, and it would be nice to get this happening sooner than later. So what's council's thoughts? Any comments or questions? So the recommendation here is, oh, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, we have to have a meeting, and we're not going to have the answers because in layman's terms, even Aqua couldn't explain. So I think they owe us that much.
So we'll a motion that we move this recommendation.
Yep.
By Councillor Pomeroy, seconder. Councillor Webb. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Oh, Dave, did you have something, or?
Do we have a time frame on this meeting?
Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I have reached out to the Ontario Clean Water Agency. We're scheduled to speak again, so I would expect this meeting should happen within the next couple of weeks. In our prior discussions, they had some folks on vacation, so we're moving this along. It'll happen as soon as we can get everybody together.
Thank you for that.
Okay, and everybody was in favor, Bob. So we'll move into the next report from bylaw enforcement. And I am going to try and move through this so that we can get her done before our 12 o'clock curfew. So we'll see how that goes. So we're not 12:30, is it?
Isn't it mine?
Yep.
Okay, 12:30.
That is correct, Mayor Martin. Curfew is 12:30.
Let's try for 12, and it'll probably be 12:30. So. Okay. All right. So the next one is bylaw enforcement. We've all seen the report. Is there any comments or questions here? This is a good thing, I think. So we will need a motion. Dave, go ahead. You're muted.
I would like to move the recommendation.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, and the seconder, Councillor Ellis. Any more comments or questions on this? I think it's something that we really need, especially after this weekend. There's been a few things we've seen, and it's not getting any better. So it's not just fast cutting. So anyways, okay, all in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. All right, correspondence. There's no action items, just one from Peterborough Public Health. Motion to receive that unless there's any questions around that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux that we received the correspondence, seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, committee liaison reports. I got to catch up here, so. Battery's gonna die. There we go. Anyway, so the activity reports here. We had Dave had some minutes there from the EOTA meeting. Is there anything you want to add to that, Dave?
No, I'll answer any questions. If any council members have any questions, I believe I might give a verbal report in other business or something there, unless you want to do it now, Bob.
So we'll do it when we get into the other business then, Dave?
Yep. Thank you.
That's correct. Yep.
Motion to receive the minutes there from the OTA meeting. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And it's carried. And with mine there, you know, same thing. We've had several meetings. Last week I was with I had Joint Services, Crow Valley. They didn't make it to the list. Lots going on. The conference calls, you know, some of the things that came out of the one call there with Miriam is some of the townships are concerned of, there's costs that probably some of us haven't thought about, but I'm sure if we talk to Kevin over at the transfer station or we talk to Ray, the numbers this year around the township have been a lot more than normal. Anything within 2 hours of Toronto, a lot of day trippers, and it caused a lot more excitement around our township. A lot of townships are reporting that their waste is way up, which is going to be a cost that might not have been budgeted. I don't know how we're looking at our transfer stations, but as far as containers going out compared to other years, but it might be something that you don't think of, that it'd be interesting to see if there was any extra cost this year. Trent Lakes noticed a real high increase in their fire and emergency calls. So, and then the health unit last week reported over 400 daily, and we've seen that ourselves. So other than that, with these conference calls, a lot of stuff is probably history now. We've all heard about a lot of the stuff. And then county council, there wasn't really a lot to add. I did talk to John about streamlining development. Brian Weir brought a report with regards to planning, and approvals for plan of subdivisions is simplified a little bit. Instead of going through an extra stage of dealing with the county, the township will be able to in the future deal with it directly. Dave and I went out and visited with Scott McFadden on Friday to view some of his subdivision and some of the challenges he's having out there. It was a good exercise to say the least. We walked all of, I think he took us on a tour. We could have drove the truck probably, but anyways, we did a real tour of his new subdivision and his plans out there and all the challenges that he's having around that. But other than that, I'll get a motion to receive unless you have any questions, receive this report. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Councillor Ellis. Did you have any questions, Larry? You're muted. Try your space key, it's quicker.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, you had mentioned the change where the county is out of the picture. Is there a cost savings there?
That's what the intent was. It saved duplication, and it was a really good report. It was a bit long. I just did some things here, but like a shortened version here. But bylaw 21649, it's something that we could talk about in the future, but I did relay it to staff that it's something that they'll have to keep an eye on. Yeah, it should help streamlining things, and that's the whole intent here now, is trying to be efficient and streamline some of these applications around planning. So, okay, so all in favor of the and that's carried. Next, we move into new business. So Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have 5 items. The first one I'd like to speak to is the emerald ash borer. We have a problem in the Matheson property with the emerald ash borer, and I would like, I guess it would be Parks and Rec that would have to, I think they look after that property under their aspect of it. So Ryan, I would like you to, through council, if they so choose, to bring back a report on how to proceed to try and eliminate, if we can, the emerald ash borer before they spread farther than what they are, whether you'll have to get a hold of an arborist, or I know there's websites that you can get on and so on and so on, but I'll leave that up to you. We will have to do some discovery on that, and perhaps I don't have his physical address, but Larry Hubble would be more than happy to help point you out some of the trees that are beyond his property and on his property. But the ones we need to be concerned about are the ones with on the Matheson property. We've lost a tremendous amount of trees up in there due to the beavers in the last year. So I don't think we can afford to lose any more. So I'm going to make a motion that staff look into that situation. If that's necessary, Mr. Mayor, that's what I do.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux that we look into the ash borer situation on our property at the Matheson property. Second, mover.
I'll second that.
Or seconder, sorry, Councillor Pomeroy. Lost my train of thought there. So anyways, all in favor? And that's carried.
If you have any comments, Ryan, on that, or?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for bringing that up. So from my understanding of the emerald ash borer and the destruction that's been going on, like this has been sweeping across the province as far as I've known for 20 years or more. So so from what I understand of the situation here, yes, it already is here. A few of the most effective methods that I'm aware of is you can inject a registered insecticide at the base of the tree. And basically what that does is if the emerald ash borer beetle is present in that tree, the thought is that they ingest that insecticide and then eventually kills the borer. So so at that point, like you're basically just abating what the problem that you already have. So as everyone is probably fully aware of, like the biggest cause for these spreading is that the transportation of firewood from an infected area into an area that's not already affected. So I can certainly bring a report back to council, but I think further to having information brought forward about the emerald ash borer and what we can do about it, I think we should maybe look at an urban forestry management plan for that property itself, and not just kind of focusing on that one specific problem. So leave it up to council's discretion to discuss that. But those are just my comments on that.
Well, thank you for that, Ryan. And this is certainly something that was never talked about in our previous budget. I'd appreciate some kind of or we would appreciate some kind of a small report to see what we have to deal with. That's all. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I can proceed, OPP patrolling ATV trails. I'm not going to get into the situations in our immediate community that's been going on for a long time, but I do have a report from the SAVE team, and that's snowmobile, ATV, and vessel enforcement. And we work with them. They're the Eastern Division. So I have some dates here from September the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 12th and 13th. They've laid over 60 charges east of us. These charges range from no trail permits, not wearing helmets, no insurance, trespassing charges, camping charges where they're not supposed to be, etc. So I just wanted council to be aware that there are charges being laid in other municipalities. And I'm proud of the fact that the EOTA are on this, and these charges have been laid on our trails. So that's just for information. So I just wanted to bring that forward. But number 3 on the list is ATV bylaw to be reviewed. And I would like council to bring this forward, or staff to bring it forward to council in a meeting, that we review this. It needs to be reviewed. And coupled with that, in July the 1st of this year, the MTO brought out new regulations for dirt bikes. Now, if we don't pass a bylaw, the way I read the regulations, at least, if we don't pass a bylaw not to agree with the MTO, then their rules stick, but apply. But they do give municipalities the option. So that's another thing when we review our bylaw, we should also be talking about the new MTO rules. So you can, I don't know how you want to proceed with that, whether you want to have a separate meeting or you can call it an educational meeting or whatever. I would ask our acting clerk to respond to that question.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, Deputy Mayor Giroux and I had a conversation about this last week, and I would be bringing both of those items forward. I think we should have a look at the depth of what needs to be done there, at which point we will determine whether a special council meeting is required. It's likely that we could bring this forward as a staff report to council, and we could review it in a regular council meeting.
Yeah, I think that needs to be done, Dave. The regulation, bring the whole thing out, because I had it sent to me and I think I'm reading it differently than you. The way I'm reading it is the dirt bike portion of it. We can allow them on the road, but if we just leave it the way it is, same with the sixth wheel or other vehicles that they allowed in the new regulation, we would have to, the way I'm reading it, we would have to change our bylaw that we have now to allow them. Right now, we don't allow them, but we need to be clear with the people that right now dirt bikes aren't allowed, and that'll be up to council, but we have a real issue there. Go ahead then, if you want to continue.
Oh, that's good, and thank you for your comments. And I could be reading it backwards, that's for sure. The fifth one then is pertains probably again to Ryan, and I just, maybe you can give me an update. We need to move forward with the signs on the Matheson property.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so from what I can recall, the last time I attended the meeting was, I believe, June 7, 2018. And at that point, we were going to bring back some designs. I guess they wanted to reduce the size of the sign that what was originally discussed. So the next meeting, we can bring that information to the committee and for review. And the other thing that we were looking at was with the delivery of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Wasn't so sure if we should proceed with the development and the installation of those signs, being that there may be some recommendations there to make changes to either the trails in there or the identifying the market wayfinding through that property. So just something else for council to consider prior to just moving forward and installing a sign, that there may be changes in 6 months to a year with outcomes from that Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So just a little bit of info on that.
You're muted, Dave.
I appreciate your comments, Ryan, and I fully understand the delay and what we might do and we might not do, because there are definitely probably some changes coming. But I'm sure all the council besides me are getting the message one way or another that they would like to see, even if it's a plastic sign up on that rock for now. I don't know where we go from here, but this has lingered on for like 3-4 years, and it's hard for me to keep telling people, well, we're going to bring back another one and another one and another one. Irregardless what we do, I think some short-term solution would be good. So perhaps when you bring your report back, we can figure out a short-time solution. Thanks, Ryan.
There's two different signs here, I think, that you're talking about. One is the entrance sign, Dave, and the other one is the sign on the rock. And I had a comment with regards to the rock, but go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, I had assumed you were talking about the entrance sign. I wasn't aware you were talking about the sign that was removed from the rock on the toboggan hill. So my apologies. I thought we were talking about something different.
I apologize for not making that clear, but I was talking about the rock and the sign. And I've heard all the comments about, oh, if you put a sign there, they're going to knock it down and so on and so on. But surely we can do something in short term. So if you could think about that and kind of get back to us. I know there's been several motions made to have that sign put back on the rock, but it never got there. And it, for me, for a short-term solution, it doesn't have to be a $1,000 brass sign that was there originally. It could be something, because there are a lot more people, from my understanding, using and walking the property than there has been in the past. And whether that's got to do with COVID or not, I don't know. But I'd appreciate if you could think about it and bring something back in regards to the sign on the rock. And Bob, you can maybe help me out on this, but I'm pretty sure that there was a motion made several months ago to go down to a lady who makes signs on the 8th line to see what we can come up with. If I'm not mistaken, I provided the wording that was on the old sign to staff.
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, I'll confirm that that resolution is in fact part of the meeting minutes. I believe that's correct.
Thank you.
So question I had there, Dave, was I've been looking at, I don't know what it would take, but I just wonder if it'd be worth bringing the rock out and getting it etched into the stone through one of these monument places, and then it's permanent. They might spray over it. Like, we've had so many issues back there that I think a sign is just going to disappear again. It's just a thought, but it might be something to look at to see what it would cost if the rock was brought out to the fire hall and they could do the etching on it like they did at the one in Lions Park there, and then take it back in there. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but it does need to get done.
Well, I think for me personally, I think if Ryan and our roads department got together and figured out how to get it out there, that would be a great solution. So maybe that's part of his presentation when he does get chance to get it back.
Okay,
Sure.
Councillor Ellis, you've been waiting patiently there. Go ahead.
Fine.
There you go.
Fine. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we've had that comment before about the rock, and just to add to your comments, whatever does take place with the rock, taking it back where it was. I know there was a reason for it being back as an indication of our appreciation. But I'm wondering if we go through this exercise, whether a better location to help eliminate some of the vandalism, whether through spray painting or whatever, might be a consideration for staff and council, because I think no matter what we do, when we put it back in that location, it's because it's where it is. It allows the so-called individuals to play around with it. So that would be my thoughts if we go through this exercise, to have some discussion about where we would maybe replace it.
Okay, maybe.
And if I could, while I'm speaking through you, Mr. Mayor, the topic of OPP patrolling on the trails, I would like to go back to that for a minute, if I could, Deputy Mayor Giroux. You commented about the number of charges and so on that's taken place that's east of us.
To answer your question, Councillor Ellis, these charges were laid on those dates that I had given you between Callahan Rapids Bridge, which is just past the boundary of HBM and Murmur Lake, follow through the trails to Sterling and down towards Madoc, in that area.
That's fine. But my concern is why we're not getting OPP coverage here. We all know what's going on, not only on our ATV trails, but on our roads. And to me, we're being cut short here, or shortchanged when we're dealing or getting support from our OPP. I took the opportunity to talk with an OPP officer here last week, and of course, what you're told is, well, we can't do this and we can't do that. If we're talking about ATVs or dirt bikes on our roads and they're speeding and they're being the idiots that they have been, well, they can't chase them. Well, if I was speeding down number 7 highway, I'm sure they wouldn't have any problem chasing me, but to me that they're putting their hands up and they're not giving us the support that we need. We need it not only on our roads, we need it off the roads, and there's nothing happening whatsoever. And it's getting to the point where some of our fellow citizens are going to take things in their hand. That's how riled up people are, because they realize that our hands to some degree are tied, but we're not getting support from the OPPs. And so I'll just leave it at that. If they're laying charges east of here, why aren't they in our own municipality here then doing the same thing?
I'll let Dave answer that. We only have 1 kilometer of trail, or 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers of trail there. That's why, and Callahan's Rapid was the big one. We had a report at our Crow meeting. The numbers there, a lot of them were at Callahan Rapid. It's a real problem area. But go ahead, Dave.
I can't comment. My report wasn't on the OPP as far as what they're doing in our municipality. I can't comment on that. That'll be for another discussion. But I will say that it's much easier for an OPP officer, the SAVE team, to apprehend riders on a trail where they can have one ahead and one behind. There's no place for them to go off the trail like there is here, when they can take any side road or down through somebody's backyard or across whatever. So, but that's a discussion for another day for the OPP.
Yeah, that'll be coming to our police services meeting. I've asked for a report at our police services meeting. They are working on it. Whoever's saying they're not, I'd like to know that police officer's name, because I talked to the inspector last week and there is things happening. So that'll be interesting to find out those numbers. But trails and roads are two different things. They did chase somebody across Round Lake Road a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know if they got them or not. Roads are a tricky thing to catch them. But anyways, we'll leave it for the police services meeting. There will be an update at it, specifically to ATVs and where we're at with that. So so we'll just leave it at that, I think, for that, Larry, and you can catch it from the police service meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Yeah, we do have problems, and that's so. Barry, go ahead. Your reports. Are you done there, Dave? Okay, Barry, go ahead, and then your report.
Ryan wanted your attention, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, before you move on there, I just wanted to confirm what council was looking for the next meeting. Was it to bring back a report with some options, alternative options to reinstall the signage that was on the rock at the Toboggan Hill? Is that what you're looking for, or did you want staff just to proceed with something? Or
go ahead, Dave.
To answer that question, if I'm not muted, Ryan, yes. The portion I was talking about was only the rock, the signage on the rock, and I know you've got other things when it comes to the other signage coming forward. So that's the only thing I require, and one of them would be the etching of the stone.
Thank you.
And anything else in there with the Matheson property, we are trying to get a meeting together for that. So we'll get that going, and we'll sort out some other problems that we got back there. So, okay, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate some things that went on here, but I still say the OPP are not, there's no enforcement. And they do have ATVs of their own. And I've had reports that the parking lot up behind the arena, there's ATVs up there, at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of a odd time for it to be meeting. Maybe there's some illicit things going on, I don't know, but there's some of the neighbors there saying the lights are shining down. So anyway, it's something to look at. We do have a problem with the ATVs, and we're not going to cure it overnight, but maybe we can get a start at it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Larry, go ahead.
Just a last quick one, Jim, your police services board meetings, are they open to the public?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can't really speak at them too much unless you're on the agenda. And we do have to watch so we don't get a quorum there. So anyways, go ahead. Barry, you were gonna,
Yeah.
New
The,
fire truck?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The new fire truck, maybe Ray, if he's there, could maybe answer the question. I haven't seen it, still out behind the fire hall and nothing done to it. Just wondered if maybe you could give us an update.
Ray, are you there?
Okay.
He's
Then-
off mute here. Did we lose him? Wendell, you were the one that ordered it. Do you know anything about it?
All I know is Ray was going to be getting the lights installed and the radios and the decals, etc. And then it was going to be put in service, and then his truck will be going to the Parks and Arena.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Hello?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, like I said to you when you were here a week or so ago, Barry, I'm having problems getting the lights and sirens and stuff for it. They're not available right now, and you can't use the truck without that.
Understandable. Just wondered.
Okay.
So as soon as I hear any more, I did get a quote last week, the middle of last week, but no time frame.
Okay, thanks, Ray.
Okay, and your next question there, Barry, was student help at the arena?
Yeah, I'm wondering why we need student help at the arena. You know, with we have 3 men of our own, and maybe it won't be even open. I know the gal that we had working for us is super, but I think that in my own mind that we have 3 people on staff that should be able to handle, especially if we do open a small group, or they won't be there, like it'll be closed down. So what are we going to do? And I would recommend that we lay the student off, like she should be going back to school anyway.
Okay, Ryan, I imagine that's part of your report for, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So currently we do have a contract for part-time help, and that contract expires October the 3rd. So obviously we're not going to put forth any recommendations to hire additional staff before this meeting, because council decided to leave the arena closed. So at this point, there'll be no plans to rehire or interview any part-time staff for the arena operations at this point. So unless council decides to reopen that facility, that position will not be filled this winter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, did you have anything else, Barry?
No, that's good enough. I could go on, but there was one lady that has a rooster down there when we get our bylaw enforcement officer. She phones me all the time.
Okay. All right then. And mine is the same as last meeting. If you the budget, I forgot to ask about it. I had talked to Wendell, and I was hoping by now we would have a schedule for the budget, so the seasonal people will have an opportunity to voice what they're looking for in the budget. Some municipalities put an ad in the paper to tell people we're going into budget, and this is their opportunity to get involved in it. But anyways, that's all that's about, is to try and get a schedule so we can get moving on the budget, and people will have access to when our meetings are taking place and how they can and so they can get involved in it. So that's all that's about, Wendell.
Yeah, so just to update council, starting tomorrow and Wednesday, I'll be meeting with all the department heads, going over their budgets. They've had their budget working papers now for over a week now. So I was in talks with CAO, and we're trying to figure out how to do the council staff meetings because of if it's going to be either doable through Zoom or in person, say up at the Lions Hall at the arena. But I know you had mentioned that you'd like to see it close to or before Thanksgiving. So we're trying to work through those issues of when we can meet and how we can meet.
Okay, I know we did the county through Zoom last year and it worked out really well. People can still come on like they did with the public meetings that we had today. Whether it's in person or Zoom, they'll both be recorded anyway, so people can have an opportunity to see what's going on. So that's all I was looking for, is an in-depth schedule with dates, and we can post it so people can, if they want to take part in it, they can get involved. So that's all I was looking for there.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have a date for council and staff within the next day or two.
Okay, thank you. And then the other one I had there was the RFP for the garbage collection, and all I'm bringing that back for is the idea of a pilot project. Jim Whalen, I was talking to him and he said anytime we want to talk, with the issues we have around Shady Lane, that might be an area that might be an opportunity to piggyback with North Kawartha to try it out. It's totally just an idea to help with the situation we have up there. I had a bunch of emails last week. I think things are changing up there as far as our man that's working there. I'm not sure. But anyways, I just thought I would leave it on there. Something for you to think about for the next meeting, but there is an opportunity to at least open some dialogue up with North Kawartha to see if there is any efficiencies or opportunity here to do a better job around our satellite transfer stations, especially the one up north there. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you have any questions or comments, get a hold of me and we'll see if there's any interest in that to at least open the dialogue up. But other than that, I'll leave it at that. And is there anything else under new business? Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, I just brought an item up, I think at the last meeting, about the traffic situation down at Tim Hortons. And I was Bob the other day. I believe he has a bit of an update on that. Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, there is a bit of an update. I did contact the OPP on that matter, and there is a concern at that corner. So that is in fact a county area. So the OPP suggested that council direct staff to send a letter to the County of Peterborough to have that properly signed and enforced. So we can do that right now, or if you wish, I can bring a report back to the next meeting to that effect, and we'll lay out a resolution for council.
Perfect. Art?
I'll make the motion that we send that off to the county right now.
Okay, moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy that we get the county to look into that intersection. All in favor? Any comments or questions first? Sorry. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right, is there anything else under other business or new business? Seeing none. Something that I forgot is the written or oral notice of motion. I skipped over that. Was there any written or oral notice of motions for today's meeting? No written, so is there any oral? Seeing none, we'll move into bylaws. And we dealt with the first three bylaws, so the fourth bylaw on our agenda. Oh, Ray? I don't know, I just seen Ray's thing light up there. I'm getting a bit of static here. I don't know whether it's my computer or if it's everyone's. It's a little bit hard to understand. Number 4, the bylaw here is the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into winter maintenance agreement with AMCON with regards to Highway 7, the connecting link. Do I have them? Moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor? And that's carried. And next is a bylaw to appoint Mike Goschuk as bylaw enforcement officer for the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Did we do that or that's just receiving the report, Bob? Okay,
Yep, through you, Mayor Martin, we received the report, but now we can pass the bylaw.
Deputy Mayor Jerome moved that, and the seconder, Councillor Ellis. All in favor? That's carried, so let's get on with it. We got lots of bylaw enforcement to do. So, anyways, okay, so I have the confirming bylaw next, and we do have a closed meeting scheduled following this, and I did ask Bob this morning to really look at these things and make sure that they're necessary, and if there's a possibility of having them once a month instead of every meeting. But he can look into that and see. We seem to be getting back into having a lot of closed meetings, and I've had some questions with regards to that. So anyways, for the most part, I know Bob really does watch what we're going into, and they have to be justified, and that's the only way I can answer it. So anyways, confirmatory bylaw moved by, confirming bylaw moved by Councillor Webb, seconder. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Giroux, all in favor? And that's carried. And then a motion to adjourn is moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So we do have a closed session. What time do you want? What time, Bob?
Okay, through you, Mayor Martin. So we're certainly flexible